I can put that up on our ED350 spring website. And that way, if there was some information that was shared today and you were a little unsure about that, you can actually go back and just watch that recording also. And so I'm going to share my screen and just give you a quick little, let me get all my stuff navigated here and moved out of the way. You can kind of see here's a quick agenda. And I would like to welcome Josh Johnson and Jackie Cordy from the Valley City Public Schools for sure. And for Joan Klein for taking time to meet with us as well. Joan is kind of our substitute teaching guru, if you were. And so it's important that they are all here, and they will be talking about a few things throughout our pretty short of agenda. You can see in front of you the things that we're going to be talking about. The substitute teaching component is kind of the key and the big part of that. And then I'll also be talking about a couple of the field experience requirements. And so as you can see, Joelle, the very first item is going to talk about the substitute teaching license and the background check. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of be navigating on our Blackboard site, because then you'll be able to see, if I can get that darn Zoom stuff out of the way. There we go. So you can actually see where this stuff is located on our class Blackboard site. So let me just get that to open, which I thought was open, but apparently not. And this site should be active now and should be open to you. Not all of the items that I've gotten ready are actually live to you yet, but if we go to that field experience sub-program resources tab on the left navigation, you'll see that there is the sub-program information. And the first thing that I wanted to do was because some of you were maybe perhaps still a part of that COVID group from our intro, some didn't ever have to get a background check, and some maybe have had it for a while. The background checks, I believe, are good for a year and a half, 18 months. And so what I have done is I have created and if I go back to my, I have this document that actually I believe Joan was kind enough to create for me. And it has all the links that you need for where to go to request and apply for a first time or a renewal of background check. And if you're someone that doesn't have a sub-license, there's also links here for that. The sub-license is not required, and I'll repeat that, it's not required for you to student teach. However, if you want to take advantage of the incentive program that Josh Johnson will be talking about here in just a little bit, you do need to have your sub-license. And of course, you won't have a sub-license without a background check. They go together. And that's the nice part about the sub-license is once you have that, that is good for 2 years, where a background check can expire. But as long as your sub-license is renewed, the background check is automatically renewed as well. And so that's that first document. I do have an assignment. Surprise, surprise. Under the assignments tab, if we go to our field experience assignments, I've added this new one. This is just a list of stuff we'll go through after we come back from Christmas. But here is that sub-license portal, assignment portal. So I need you to upload verification that you either have a valid background check and or sub-license to this assignment portal, and then I know you'll be good to go. And so you only need the background check to be doing the field experience for this course, but if you want to receive the stipend, then you would need the substitute teaching license as well. Any questions about that first piece?
Is the sub-license, is that something we have to pay for?
The sub-license is something you have to pay for. However, Mr. Johnson will be explaining to when we get down to their incentive program that after a certain number of subbings, they actually will reimburse you for the cost of your background check and your substitute teaching license. So good question, and we will cover that here shortly. I think maybe let's next go. I'm going to go back to, and I'm sorry if I'm making you dizzy because I'm kind of making me dizzy here. Let's go back to that sub-program information. And I think, Joan, this would be a great time for you to go ahead and talk about those requirements, and I'll steer here, and go ahead and take it away, Joan.
Okay, sounds good. You can read number 1 through 8. I'll just touch on each one very quickly. You'll see that there are 4 times you'll be subbing, always on Fridays. I did create this schedule so you would have a lot of variety. A lot of people say, I want to teach primary grades or only want to teach in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. And when I put you into 5th and 6th, sometimes you get a little nervous. However, I think it's a really valid experience and it's very, very important. And so please don't make changes of people just because you feel like that's not something you want to teach. Go ahead and take what I've assigned you, Title I's, learning strategists, all of those, experience them because I think it will help you understand what those grades are all about. Number 3 just talks about will be co-teaching. So we start you out with a partner, so you're not by yourself. 4 points out that Title I, while there's 2 of you, they have a wall split. And so there are 2 teachers teaching at the same time. So I just want to point out that was not co-teaching technically, that's just being in the same space. If you are working as a practicum placement and you always work with that 4th grade teacher for your 60 or 80 hours, why don't you let us know? Because when you sub for that same identical person, it's a win for all sides. And so that's something that you want to communicate. If you cannot sub because you're sick, that's your job to find someone else. And so when you make changes and switches, that's not my responsibility, that's yours. It's really hard, especially last minute, to find anybody because either work shifts have already been covered, people went home already. So it does become a challenge. So just treat it as a professional teacher of that we need you there. And if you're sick, of course, I understand. We'll figure out something, but it's always going to be your job to make changes. Talks about snow days there you can read, and then talking about again the subbing license. So Dave will share this schedule with all of you. I've plotted all of you into certain dates, and you may say we have a family wedding that weekend, it's not going to work for me. And so you would go ahead and find someone else in the class to make a change with, and then trade, adjust it, and then notify me so that I'm always aware of what adjustments were made. And again, I would just be mindful of trying not to trade too many times because mathematically it was arranged in a certain order to try to give you a really wide variety of experiences. So try to stay with the schedule if you're able to, and if there's a conflict, then solve that and then communicate that back with me again.
And again, that document is in the field experience subprogram and the subprogram information, and then it is this one right here. And I believe if I jump down, yep, that brings us next to the next document, which I'll let Josh Johnson talk about. Let me get that up for you. There we go.
Thanks, Mr. Hansen. Thanks, Ms. Klein. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk with the students that are going to be coming up into this class next semester. I think some of you already are subbing, if I'm not mistaken. Michaela, I think you've already been recognized as like the super sub down at Washington Elementary. I think Mr. Hansen, I think she was even like credited with being like identified by name during our administrative meeting as Chad Leak's like go-to person. So
Here we go.
This is the incentive is an opportunity twofold. It's a partnership with VCSU as a way to be able to, for us to meet our needs. I don't want to beat around the bush relative to that. Like every school district across North Dakota, we have a great need for substitutes. Last year, we actually increased our sub pay from $120 to $140 a day. But I think another important piece of this is the opportunities that you guys all have to get into the classroom and have that real life practical experience subbing with real kids with real issues. As we described at the beginning of this meeting, you'll have a gamut of opportunities in your classrooms. And I think for that, it's going to give you a lot of tools and experiences leading into your interviews. And so I really am appreciative of the partnership that we have with VCSU, as well as this new opportunity for you guys. And so I know you mentioned, or the question was asked earlier about stipends and reimbursements and things like that. So we can jump into that. Before I go too much further, Jackie Cordy is our new business manager, and a friendly face for all of you that haven't signed up for substitute teaching in our school district. Jackie's here with me at the district office. And so she's your kind of primary go-to contact to get yourself registered on our sub list to make sure we have all the documentation. So not only are you going to sub for us, but we'll make sure that you'll get paid as well. That's like the great thing. Her email address is listed below. Mine is also. She's a better person to contact, more reliable and getting back. No, but she's a good person to be able to get a hold of. And by all means, with any questions that you guys have beyond this date, please contact and reach out and communicate with us. So let's talk. So Mrs. Klein just made reference to your 4 required subbing days coming up in the spring. So the first 2 days that you're going to be subbing are part of your experiences in this course. Day 3 and day 4, what happens is Valley City Public Schools will give you a stipend of $280 if you complete as part of this class, day 3 and day 4 of subbing. So that's $140 per day. So I think that's checked off. You are done. That's a guarantee. If you're going to pass this class, you're going to have 4 days of subbing this spring. I did take note that it sounds like if we call a snow day on a Friday, then you're shorted of that experience. So we got to make sure that if it's a blizzard, whatever it is, Joan and Dave, we are not calling a snow day on a Friday to interfere with the schedule. I feel like we'll be cheating our VCSU students. So the incentive, here's where the incentive really comes in as it relates relative to license. We want you guys to come back after day 4. So those Friday sub days, we want you to come back for day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8, and whatnot. As I joked earlier, Michaela has been the super sub, and I just talk about the experiences that has provided for her. It's a connection with our teachers, it's a connection with our administrators. And again, I'm not saying that down the road that you have to end up in Valley City or teaching in Valley City. But I just think that experience in the classroom is the reason why Joan and Dave and VCSU believe so strongly in this partnership and the opportunities for you guys to sub. And so take full advantage of it, sub day 5 and day 6. And so with that, not only will you get paid for those 2 days, the $140 per day, but you'll also get the reimbursement of $190 for that substitute teacher's license. So when you add up all that together in the spring of 2023, if you sub 6 days, you'll get that $280 for subs days 3 and 4. You'll get the $190 on your reimbursement of your license, and then you'll get paid for sub days 5 and 6. So together it's $750 minimum, and then you can sub and continue beyond there. We have great kids. I really, really believe that. I think our teachers do an excellent job of making sure you guys are set up in the classroom and that the class is organized, expectations are clear. You're already going to have some of that guidance having subbed day 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so just really strongly encourage you to seek out that opportunity. I know some of your schedules are probably a little bit busier or crazy than others, but if you have opportunity, reach out. We also use the Frontline Substitute Teacher Software Program and app. And Michaela, I should probably ask for your input as it relates relative to signing up to become a sub, as well as working as a sub, the Frontline system. Michaela, is there anything that you think is important that the rest of your students need to know or should know?
Sometimes on the app, like on your phone, the Frontline will be a little slow with them. So always check your computer too for those sub days, I guess.
Okay, and so is everybody familiar with Frontline?
Likely not.
Okay, how many of you have subbed in our school district? Or okay, Abby has, Michaela has. So Michaela, do you want to talk a little bit more about Frontline from the user end?
Yeah, so I'll try and pull it up on my phone so you guys can maybe see it.
So a teacher in our school district will submit their absence request. They'll go in, our principals will approve it. It'll get posted. Upon it getting posted, then a notification will go out. Those teachers can put specific requests into certain substitute teachers. Otherwise, they'll go into a pool. Michaela, do you get a notification on your phone?
Yep, you get a call. It signed me out on my phone, but yep, you get a call on when a sub job comes available, and then you can either listen to it or just check your app and it'll pop up on there. And then it shows you like your scheduled jobs, like it has different tabs on there, your scheduled jobs, and then your past jobs. So you can always check what you have done and all the hours you've done. And yeah,
It's pretty slick. Does it work relatively well, Michaela?
yeah, very. You can also leave feedback on the app if you would like.
So we just, again, we recognize the importance of value of first of all, the partnership with VCSU, but also this opportunity. We're investing in all of you by covering your substitute teacher license. And so with that, again, it serves our needs in the school district, but probably on a broader level, it really truly does give you guys the opportunity, the experience to be able to get in the classroom and be hands-on, interactive, engage with students and be responsible for that classroom. And that's a big part of your educational journey. And so for Valley City Public Schools, we are extremely fortunate. You hear so much right now relative to teacher shortages across the state of North Dakota. God bless Valley City State University. And I say that with complete sincerity, and Mr. Hanson and Ms. Klein are probably tired of me maybe singing the praise, maybe not, they're not. But I am a graduate, multiple degree graduate of University of North Dakota. And as I look back on my experiences and journeys, I know things have changed and evolved, but from an educational standpoint, you guys are so fortunate to have the professors you have, to have this foundation that's leading you in education. So good for all of you. We're proud to have this sponsor or this partnership in place with VCSU and to be that partner to make sure that you guys have this great experience at Valley City Public Schools. And what I would tell you kind of last piece, and I like to talk a lot, so I'm going to turn over to Jackie to add into this, but we really we appreciate you guys being there and being able to have that experience, but we also appreciate the feedback. And so I know that oftentimes that leads into discussion in your classes, but if there's anything ever that does come up and there's opportunities for feedback relative to your experiences, we want to know as well. So you have our email addresses, share that with the principal, share that with me. And again, we're always about trying to find opportunities for growth and improvement. And you guys are a big part of that as well. Okay, I'll be quiet now.
You did a great job.
Anything else?
No, I was just gonna say, for those of you who haven't been built into Frontline, just whenever you have time, come on in to the central admin office right across from the high school, and we can get you set up in Frontline. And what we will need when you come in is a copy of your driver's license and social security card. Or if you have a passport, we could take that. So we would either need one form of ID if it's the passport, or if you do not have a passport, we need the driver's license and social security card. And then I will give you the payroll documents for you to fill out. And with that, if you'd like your paychecks direct deposited, I will give you a direct deposit form for you to complete with your bank information, the routing number, and the account number. And then that should be everything we need from the HR side, obviously, with a copy of that sub license.
Perfect. Just to add to that a little bit, I think that one of the things, if I have my principal hat back on, if I'm reading an applicant's paperwork or application and I see that they've been doing subbing, I think that is important. And I would be looking to see, well, what grades did they sub in? And I think, and maybe because I know what I know, but having had that experience tells me that subbing is a hard thing. Sometimes it's harder than teaching. And so I think that would be to your advantage to include that as a part of your, talking about yourself. And I think it'll help you in the interview as well. And, Michaela may not get a job at Valley City, but might get, from what it sounds like, Chad Leak just might write her a recommendation. Things like that could also benefit you as well. And so
obviously that doesn't mean a whole lot, Mr. Hanson, for Mr. Lee for Michaela, but
we'll be sure to tell them that. Yes.
Yeah, do so. No, you're spot on. You're absolutely correct. And subbing in the district is not going to hurt you whatsoever, whether that's having a close connection with a teacher or a principal, but just being able to, again, speak to that experience, real life experience that you're going to be able to add on top of the the discussions in classroom that you have. It just, again, will help you be a more all around, I think, better applicant when you get out into those interviews.
Yeah, I think so too.
I
So
think I want to add one more thing too, Dave, if
go
I
ahead,
can.
Joan.
I hear a lot of conversation about frontline and students frustrated because they want to sub, but they don't see a lot of the listings necessarily. And I want to remind all of you that you can sub junior high and high school as well. And so for days 5 and 6, if you're not seeing a lot of openings on the days when you can work, go ahead and try those opportunities as well. They sound scary, but you're going to find that they're actually quite easy in a sense. 7th and 8th grade, no, I'm going to change that answer, but 9 through 12, it's just a great supervision day. And again, it kind of helps you realize what your abilities are. So don't worry if you're not able to get the days quickly. We will wait for you and get you as best we can, but don't put those away, because those are great opportunities as well.
Joan, I'd like to follow up with that as well. Don't be afraid to make those personal connections as well with principals, to reach out, introduce yourself and say, you know, this is who you are, the class you're going to be a part of. You have your sub license, you know, you'd like to be considered again. You're in the frontline system, but making those connections is important. And then when you go in to check in and introduce yourself and again, familiarize yourself with the principal. And I think that's a good first step as well.
Excellent. Students, any questions about this part of it, the stipends and all those things? Unfortunately, we have fortunately and unfortunately, we have 2 Canadian residents that are a part of our class. And so we have to be a little creative, because you can't pay them legally unless they have a work visa. And so we're looking at some options there that they may or may not decide to take. But anyway, that was a little bit of a twist and wrinkle that we haven't had before. All right, so I'm going to go ahead then, and I gotta, you know, back during COVID, I had this Zoom stuff really down really well. I can tell I'm a little rusty.
Mr. Hanson, if there's nothing more, we'll check off and let you guys
bet.
carry on, and happy holidays to all of you. We'll look forward to seeing you, meeting you in the spring.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Yep, see you later. And we are about done actually too. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of, oh, you rotten dog, here we go. Trying to get rid of this. And so I need to show this. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, that wasn't a Jennifer let me know that wasn't a link you could actually see. That would be kind of helpful if I would make it something you could see. So if we jump back to this, so we've had our I think we pretty much have exhausted the topic of the substitute teaching, and I do feel bad that it isn't quite as seamless and easy for Joelle and Michelle to consider being a part of that. But anyway, the last item that I was going to talk about then is under the assignments tab. And if I go to field experience assignments, this is back to where we were with the background and sublicense. The one that, yes, I'm giving you an assignment today. I know it's evil, but I'm going to do it anyway. The field experience application is something that should look very familiar to you. It's very similar to what we had in ED250. One thing that's a little bit different is we do want you to make sure, yes, Captain Obvious, I did highlight it. We want to know what your past intro ED250 experience was, because we really would prefer that you not have that same exact grade. I think some diversifying your experience in the practicum is important. If you're hoping to student teach in a certain grade, it doesn't mean that you can't have that as your practicum field experience. If you are going to be requesting a Valley City Public School practicum field experience placement, we would just need to, if you're going to mark grades 4 through 6, you know, we know the rest of it. You can put Washington down if you want, but we don't need all of this information filled out. It is really important, however, if you're requesting a field experience outside of Valley City, that you do include all of the information. And that way, when Mr. Michelson, who is the one that will be checking on those placements, confirming them, then he gets back to me. And then we take a class period, just like we did an intro, to kind of walk through that process of emailing those cooperating teachers and such. Important that you also, if you're an athlete and really need to not drive too far away, put things like that down. If you don't have a vehicle, those kind of things, because there would be a priority for you. There aren't as many student teachers in the Valley City Public Schools this semester as there was last, so that'll be to your advantage. And of course, you get placed before the intro students. And then the second page is just bioinformation that will be shared with your cooperating teacher. And the educational history, I think it's helpful if you, I'm going to get you back where I can see you again. It's helpful if you can include things that you've done, including your own intro experience. But if you've done any worked at a daycare, or if you, when you were in high school, if you were in a classroom instead of going to a study hall, those kind of things, that'll help that cooperating teacher feel a little more comfortable with you coming in. Although, because it's a practicum experience, there's a lot. We saw that list. Well, if I bounce back to it, if it lets me bounce back to it. I know I need someone to steer. You can see we've got a lot of stuff, including you'll be teaching 4 full group lessons to the students in that class. You have the joy of getting to have me come and watch you teach. It's so exciting. Actually, I really, really enjoy it. It was an idea that came from ED350 students, and I do really enjoy doing that. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all that because we'll have plenty of time after Christmas to do that. But I did want to highlight those areas. I'm going to stop my share. And other than the background check submission to verify that or substitute teaching license, and then that your field experience request, which is due the first day of class, because then I'll give those to Mr. Michelson right away that day, and then he'll get busy, hopefully within a week, most of the time within a week. For the practicum students, we're able to get those placements certified or verified, and then we can get going, because 60 hours does take a little more time to complete. It used to be 80 hours. But when we added the substitute teaching requirement, we knocked that down to 60 hours to try to be a little more fair to you all. And so, all right, now I'm feeling like Josh Johnson. I feel like I'm talking and talking. So let me stop and see if there are any questions.
Dave.
Yep.
I'm still having a hard time seeing that link. I don't know if it's my end or yours.
You might have to, in the left navigation.
Yeah, I tried refreshing and everything, but
You actually might have to completely. Is anybody else online, and can you verify that you can see it?
I can see it.
Okay. So yeah, it might be just, you might actually even have to completely quit out of that browser and then go back in. But if you have more trouble with that, Chloe, let me know, and I can send you some of those documents too. Joan, go ahead, Eve.
I was just going to ask, for those days that were assigned during the beginning, are those full days? Because I'm a music minor, so I do have classes on Wednesday or on Fridays. So am I going to have to tell my professor that I cannot go those days?
What time are those classes at, Eve?
One is at 9 o'clock and one is at noon.
Okay, that's going to be something we're going to have to troubleshoot, because obviously you can't leave a classroom in the middle of the day when you got all the kids waiting and they're depending on us. Maybe Dave and I and you can sit together when we get back and figure out how we want to address that. In the past, I had a student that had an 8 o'clock class. And so since the students didn't start until 8:30, it wasn't easy. She came in at 9 and we made it work. One thing we've done differently this year as well is that you don't start the classroom right away. The actual classroom teacher is going to lead the day and start for a good half hour of the presentation, the warm up and all that.
With
so
you there. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can kind of see what it looks like. And so then you take the reins from that point. But leaving at 2 points of the day, that would be tricky. So let's troubleshoot that one together.
Okay, sounds good.
Anything else, Joan, that we should share?
I think that's good just for the start, just to make sure that, and if questions, you guys can always email us over break. And now that you have a chance to see those calendars, maybe, and you know who's now in the class by seeing each other here. So you might want to do some networking and talk to some about a switch if you need to make one. And then if I don't hear from you, I'm going to assume that's a perfect draft and we'll go from that being the final. Usually that Monday or even Sunday night before you sub on that Friday, I will send out a reminder email. This Friday we're subbing, here are the placements, that kind of thing. So just try to help you remember, the dates that are coming up. But
So Dave and John, when we have those subbing days, we would have to like tell our cooperating teacher that we can't be there, like, because Fridays are like pretty much the only day I could do my field experience. So on those days, I would just have to tell my cooperating teacher that I won't be there that Friday.
Exactly. And that has been very typical for a lot. Yep. For sure. Well, I'll hang on for a while if anybody has any questions. If not, I wish you good luck on the rest of your finals and have a great Christmas break. And we'll look forward to meeting together face to face then after the new year. Yeah. Take care.
Dave, I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Mrs. Wennis, she's a second grade teacher at Jefferson. I visited with her a little bit about possibly doing my practicum in there.
Sure.
So on my field experience form, can I just write that somewhere?
You can, and that's great that you've done that, but it won't
Yeah, I can't.
necessarily mean that it's a
Yeah.
guarantee, but it certainly can hurt. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And Joan, if you do want to hang on, I will visit with you just a second after.
figured I would just in case you need something.
Yeah, thanks. All right.
So I have a question about a background check. I did a background check for my preschool practicum that just happened this semester.
Okay.
Um,
And was it a North Dakota ESPB background check?
can I email it to you and see?
Yep, that would be fine.
Okay, perfect. I will email that
Yeah,
over to you.
typically, the background check that counts, you get an email confirmation from the North Dakota ESPB saying that your background check is all clear. That's
Okay,
yeah.
yep.
So if it looks like that, and still send it to me, Michaela, and I'll look at it. A very
Okay.
good chance you'll be good.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Yep. What can I do for you, Brooke? Oh, and nothing at all.
Just
So now it's
waiting.
just the two of us. Let me stop my recording.
Okay.